Eric Keller here, Enthusiast Auto Group. We're in EAG's paint correction and photo studio today, and we're going to highlight this E28 M5 that has just completed its paint correction. The mechanical portion of the Rejuve program has also been completed. We've got a couple more steps in the quality control program to ready this car for the next enthusiast home, and once that enthusiast has raised their hand, reviewed the data file, gone through everything, and given us that $500 securing deposit to buy the car, we then get the paperwork and whatnot going, send everything out via FedEx overnight, and a week or two while the paperwork and final payment is in process, the car goes through the final quality control process, the post-sale inspection we call it. And that typically will start with a final drive. I'll retrieve the car from whichever of the warehouses it's in, and I'll spend 20, 30, 40 miles with the car, basically doing that exact same, 30, 40 miles of that first impression that the next enthusiast is going to have, but doing so with my finger at the ready to find fault and any issues that are irregular. Anything that is, like this switch that's depressed here that should be in the neutral position. Just little details are, some things that we want to make sure that we go through and highlight so that the car is arriving in that turnkey ready status that we're known and trusted for. I do have to say that's probably one of the best parts of the job, because I get a lot of great seat time in these great cars, and analog vehicles like this M5. I mean, this was the car that made a huge impression on so many enthusiasts, and basically created all of the other M5 lovers after that, in terms of repeat buyers buying the E34 and then moving into the E39 M5. And it's kind of cool to watch the M5 progress. Using the E39, I guess, as an example, which this is another new arrival. This is the only M5 we have, quote unquote, in the pipeline, I suppose. It's here and in process, so it's not something that is super fresh, at least in the program. It's been here about a month or so, and it's just finishing up. But back to that topic, the M5 buyer, the E28 M5 buyer now is a good 10, 15 years older than when he bought that M5. And so this is going to be a little bit more gentleman-like. It's going to be a little bit more mature, and I think one of the better examples of that is the Golf bag indicator in the trunk that I was just trying to open, and it's locked. And the fact that the engineer department and planners figured that that's how this car was going to be used, probably because the M5 owner was working, driving that every day, and now he's retired maybe and having a bit more fun. And this M5 has certainly had a great ownership and storyline. We'll probably do a feature on this one maybe later down the road, but the quick stats on it is an 02 with 54,382 miles. It's a 6 of 02 build on the Silverstone, which would be, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of 21 in the Le Mans on the Silverstone. If I'm wrong there, let me know in the comments, but I think that's accurate. But back to the E28 M5. This car has just a couple small upgrades over stock relative to performance. Naturally, we'll see the Super Sprint muffler right there. It does have a Dynon performance chip. It does have a set of no longer available Dynon adjustable front and rear sway bars. That gives us a little bit more lateral stability going through the corners, and given the car has a little bit higher center of gravity relative to what we're used to in more modern cars, this car not quite as much, as it does have a set of Bilsteins and performance springs as well. And a short shift, a tower brace up front in the engine bay, and then last but not least, it has a CD player from the probably late 90s, early 2000s. And while that's probably not the most aesthetically pleasing system, there are lots of other options that we can retrofit, including a CD33 that is be a BMW radio, and there's actually, I think, a 33 now that has some Bluetooth capabilities Of course, we have stock radios to go back into, so don't let that radio deter a purchase decision. And anything that you can do to a car like this to make the car your own, we certainly are happy to do so. If we want to take some of the stuff off and put it back more to stock, or add some more stuff to give it a little bit more oomph, like a cam gear, there's a lot of things that EAG will offer and build the car to suit. I think this car is pretty well set up the way that it is. This is a 108,000 mile car that's going to be more into the driver category relative to what EAG offers. It's not the Concours Garage Queen like the 30 and 40,000 mile or the 9,000 mile Garage Find. We're sitting right at 108,835. And we've got about a $14,000 work order going over this car. I'd be happy to email that to anybody that wants to take a closer look. And it's not that we found 14 grand worth of stuff that's wrong. We just found 14 grand worth of stuff that demonstrated an opportunity to improve it. The car does have all of its original VIN tags. You'll see one there on the fender, one matching over here on this fender as well. The hood VINs are typically, well, they're always right there unless they're not, and if they're not right there, then we've got an issue and there's going to be a DOT sticker more likely than not somewhere. And a lot of times it's put right here, sometimes it's put under here. There's not a ton of consistency where those DOT-R stickers are. And that DOT-R sticker stands for Department of Transportation Replacement, if you were not aware. And at the time, it was a federal law to have those type of stickers on genuine replacement body panels, which would help deter any type of fraudulent activities or that kind of stuff. Every door has its VIN as well, and then on the trunks you're going to find the VIN behind the toolkit, and it is right there. We got the blue rag. This one's maybe a little bit more on the green side of the family, but have the original OG screwdrivers. You cannot find those anymore. It's a full toolkit, which again is a good indication of a fastidious previous owner. Hence the service book over here as well. The car lived most of its life out west. It was in California until 2005. Then the next enthusiast owner brought the car over to the New York area. The car does not and has never had any type of rust, and that is vitally important. Not having rust today is different than not having rust yesterday and having it remediated. This is not that car. It's never had any type of rust. But we've got the original owner's manuals and service book. We've got some period correct literature, history report, of course, and everything the most recent owner has done to the car. The car has been California compliant and smogged in the past. That'll make it easier if you are a California resident and want to put this car in your stable. Virtually every car EAG sells will be 100% California smog compliant, with just a few exceptions. And those exceptions typically, unfortunately, are going to be cars like the Sport Evo. The Sport Evo right now will not be California compliant, being that it has not previously been smogged and does not have a carb sticker. However, there is a Sport Evo that EAG has sold that is carb compliant and in California today, and there is a process in order to, well, I guess we'll call it federalize them in a carb manner that we know of, and can certainly help the next enthusiast owner do that if they so choose. We've got great sister shops in California that we work with that we'll be happy to partner with, and frankly that's part of buying a car from EAG is the customer service after the sale, and we do partner you with the best shop in your area to ensure that you're going to have a great facility to continue to maintain and love and care for your EAG BMW. Granted, we don't hope or expect you to have to do anything major there with them, but you're always going to need to do your annual services and whatnot if you're not doing it yourself, and having a good ledger of that certainly is going to bode well when we have that conversation to buy the car back. So that is a quick one take on this E28 M5 and a couple other bits of info. If you're interested in this car, do reach out. The car is available. It's hitting the website here very, very soon. It is, I guess one thing we should do is a condition report too while we're here, and just show you up close these condition related areas that just have a little bit of honesty and integrity to them. The car's not new. It is not had its PDR yet done, I can see with that little baby ding right there, but we'll go knock that type of stuff out when we are doing our final rounds of quality control. A lot of times we'll get to it before, a lot of times we'll get to it after, but we certainly will want to make sure that we take care of all of those things before delivering them. There's a little bit of paint scratching. The car is, more original than not, and you can tell right there on the gas door where the paint has been burned through there on the thumb flap. And that's okay. We'll touch that up. But that's a badge of honor, right, frankly. And at 109,000 miles, basically, the car doesn't lose points for that in my book. It's honest, and having all of its original body panels, again, is really, really important. It demonstrates that the car's obviously not had any type of trauma or vehicular drama, I'll call it. There's a little bit of paint blems here. I'll point a flashlight on it. Right there on the door. Those have been touched up quite well and sanded back down and then buffed back in. Those type of things are a good way to help kind of preserve the panel, because otherwise you're going to be repainting the whole panel, and the car's great the way that it is. I don't think that it needs those type of things repainted. It's honest. The car's got good thick paint on it still. It should last quite a long time yet before needing a full exterior restoration, which eventually most cars will end up getting one of those, and they're only original once, and we're certainly on the preservation side of the camp. So, and lastly, dash. That's always a big thing. And don't look from the inside, look from the outside. It's a lot easier to see if there are any little cracks or imperfections. The dashes on these do have a pretty high rate of fatigue, and that is a part that's no longer available. So yeah, there, I think that's a good one take. So subscribe for more, lots more cool cars coming. We have a lot of cars in the pipeline yet that are going through the process, and we'd love to introduce you to your next EAG BMW and ensure that you've got a great start to a fantastic relationship that you can enjoy for many, many years to come, and great support along the way. Thanks again for tuning in. Stay tuned for more. See ya.